Are you ready, kids?
Aye, aye, Captain!
No! I said, are you ready?
You're listening to the Goof Norton Radio Show.
He's the best of the best of the best.
He has a wonderful voice.
If you don't like him,
You don't have a soul.
I'm sure your sister will.
Hey, babe, you want to go out?
Oh snap, it's Sunday, or it's Wednesday. I wasn't supposed to say when I was recording this, but we're recording it on a day. But it's the show, it's the podcast, I'm back. Welcome back to another broadcast of the Goof Norton Radio Show. Hope everybody is doing well today. I am full of energy, I'm all paunchy because I got an energy drink and we're grooving. Today's a special broadcast. We've got a special guest with us today. I decided to bring back I told you guys I was going to get guests again, but you didn't believe me. But here we go from, I kind of jacked that up, didn't I? It's Cody from Alavasgaming, everybody. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Happy to have you here. Now, I brought this, I presented this idea to him because I've been like on a roll of watching Anthony Padilla's podcasts or his interviews, and I've been like, man, I miss that. And it made me realize I do miss having people on the show. Like this is kind of what this is supposed to be. It's kind of very open forum kind of thing, as I've never really stuck to a real thing, a real sense of topic, except for the early days on YouTube when I was doing the gaming news stuff. But I'm happy to have you here. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I was looking forward to this. I was excited to be here since you first asked me about it.
I'm glad to hear that. And I specifically went to you because anytime I end up popping in your streams, we somehow end up on the YouTube conversation. And I continue to realize further and further how long we've been on the platforms. I'm like, maybe we're getting old. I don't know.
A little bit, yeah. Every now and again, it just kind of hits me where I'm like, man, how many years now? Oh my God.
It's like, oh my gosh, we've been here forever. And that's why we're here. We're breaking it down. So first questions first. We got to get into it. Classic. You knew it was coming. What made you decide on the content creation? I'm going to say content since you do YouTube and Twitch.
I actually, when I was first started watching YouTube, one of the earliest folks that I would watch was Markiplier, that I watched him through college, and I got really inspired by watching him raise money for charity, hearing about him raising money for like bringing water to different areas of the world and being able to help support kids and like do stuff for Make-A-Wish and stuff like that. And I was like, wow, I really want to do that. I want to be able to raise money for charity. And that was really what started it all, is I just kind of saw that, folks were able to raise money for charity through doing YouTube and doing Twitch and now through TikTok. I was like, yeah, I want to get in on that. I think that'd be really cool.
And that is always amazing to hear. That also is in the similar vein of why I'm doing this now, and still doing this after such a long time. And you started in 2015, right?
Yeah, it was actually January 1st, 2015.
January 1st. Yeah, that's right. We talked about that too, because I started like the 2 days prior. Oh, I was like, oh man, yeah. And Markiplier being the inspiration. Yeah, I see that. And you've done charity streams. I've seen that on the old Twitch-a-rooney. You've done some successful charity streams.
Every year we always try to do the St. Jude Play Live charity event and take part in that. I've done a few different streams for like the Muscular Dystrophy Association, for the Alzheimer's Association. I kind of just aim for whatever charities are close to home, whatever I kind of feel like I have a personal connection to. And just it kind of helps to motivate me to really want to do well with charity.
That is just, we love that. We always love that. Charity work is always appreciated around these parts. And folks, don't be afraid to, don't be afraid to get out there and do that yourselves. You can, like, just because you don't think you have the sphere of influence, but charity is charity, and the people who benefit from those charities appreciate your help, no matter where you come from. Doesn't matter where the money comes from. Doesn't matter how big of a following you have. The help is appreciated always.
Yeah, I can attest to that. That was one of the things that back in, I want to say 2016, when I was still getting used to doing YouTube, I was only a year in at that point. So back then I thought I know it all, and oh man, humbling to know that I thought that. But even back then, when I didn't really know how to do charity events very well, and most of it was just how can I torture myself to get people to donate money. Even then, we were still getting people to donate hundreds of dollars to like different charities that I was raising money for, and that was back before I really had any idea what I was doing, before I even had like a solid audience that would watch me.
Mm-hmm. Now, back to the the year of where you started was a very transitional year for YouTube, I will say. Because before this, I told you already, but I was looking at some YouTubers. I looked up Smosh, I looked up Jacksepticeye, I looked up Markiplier to see where they were, and Smosh was still a thing. We know that Smosh broke up at some point. I think that was I don't know, that wasn't the year that they did the Smosh movie. I don't remember when that came out. Oh, well, here it is. Hold on, chat. Hold on. One second. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. Don't play the audio. No. Shush. I don't want to hear that.
No, it was 2015.
Oh my gosh. No way.
Yep. I looked it up, and yeah, 2015 yes. American science fiction buddy comedy web film. And just, ooh, it feels older than that, and also not.
That's insane. See, that's the stuff I'm talking about. Like, it is like, this is a very transitional year because they were the first YouTubers to really get into something like that, like on that grand of a scale. And I'm like, wow. And Markiplier was transitioning into what we kind of know him as now, I guess the slightly more chill person. But I mean, that was insane.
That was the point where he kind of started to the way that I will kind of talk about it with folks is like, that was when he kind of started to drop the entertainer persona and kind of stop doing the the announcer voice, I guess is the best way to put it. That if you go back and look at videos from that time period, he would do this like barrel chested announcer voice and kind of started dropping that. And I think did Fred get started back then?
Fred. Oh my. You just unlocked a memory I didn't even realize. Fred.
Yeah. Oh no.
I don't know what's going to pop up when I search for this.
Oh no, that's when Fred stopped. Fred went from 2006 to 2015 and then came back.
Wow. Man.
Oh boy.
15 years ago, excuse me?
Yeah.
Wow. Internet. And these were internet like titans back in the day. These people were just everywhere. As annoying as he was everywhere. Jeez, man. That's nuts. Good old Freddy Fred. I don't know if I wanted to remember that, but I appreciate you for bringing up the memories anyway.
Listen, you're talking about the tumultuous nature of that time period. I think that encapsulates it pretty well. That's when Fred stopped.
Oh gosh, and then yeah, that is right. That's when Fred stopped, and that was a year of a lot of good horror games. I've seen that Mark played. I'm going down his freaking list of I Am Bread and some Fatal Frame and Monstrum. And speaking of horror games, you yourself are a horror game aficionado, or a master of sorts. Let's talk about that.
See, that is my favorite genre. I love horror games, horror movies, but horror games especially. There's just something about that adrenaline rush that when you know you're gonna get scared, you can get into that immersion that just really you can't top it.
can't. And so, do you have like a favorite series or just a favorite standalone game that you've played over the years?
Oh boy, that would be a tough one because I usually look at it through the lens of like what at what point was it my favorite?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's some like I used to be absolutely in love with the Five Nights at Freddy's series, and then that kind of started going off the rails,
Right.
and oh man, I would have to actually. I mean, the overall favorite that I have of all time is Silent Hill 2. That is hands down my favorite game, period.
Mm-hmm. That is a great
And
game.
I am both excited and scared of the remake coming out.
Oh, I can't wait. Ooh. Yeah.
So far, I have high hopes.
Uh-huh.
As much as people want to sit there and say, why do they have a combat trailer? It's like, I'm sorry, there was combat in the first game, and it was one of the weakest parts of the game.
It really was. I was like, is this gameplay? What are we doing here?
Mm-hmm.
Poor Silent Hill. But I did have your channel pulled up because I was like, huh. And I do. The last thing I see on here is a Five Nights at Freddy's 4 gameplay in your popular section. I was like, oh, I did forget you did play that. I still get recommendations sometimes, even nowadays.
It's so funny because I was going back and watching some of those old videos and everything. I was getting recommended some of the old playthroughs of people playing like Five Nights at Freddy's 2 and what was it? I'm Scared. A lot of those old horror games that you don't really see folks play anymore.
Yeah, those horror games. And I wish at some point, I'm sure at some point, somebody would be like, "Oh my gosh, look, guys, I found these really retro games that people used to play." That term scares me. Lets me know that at some point that I'm getting older. But that kind of makes me also drift over to the mindset of indie games because they're kind of undiscovered for a long period of time and then they suddenly blow up. And I know you especially love a lot of indie games.
That is the thing that I love more than anything is to be able to show an indie game that it's not always so much that I'm not seeing others play because it's I want to make sure that the indie games that I play are getting out there, but I also don't want to play ones that I'm gonna not enjoy because I don't want it to sound like I'm being mean about indie games.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I believe that. That is indie games are I enjoy them just for the sake of seeing the individual's creativity or the group's creativity. And seeing what's possible just with an idea and how far people can go on their own without having the backup of the massive budgets that AAA studios have. It's always great to see the creative side of it.
And the ones that we really see those like breakouts that everybody falls in love with is because of, just like you said, those folks getting to express their creativity. I mean, look at Lethal Company. That's one single dev.
What a great game. And that game is honestly fantastic. At least I like watching it. Like, playing it, I'm pretty sure I die extremely fast.
I mean, everybody does at least one. Well, everybody does more than once.
It's one of those things you just can't get away from. 2015 was also a great year for Gmod, Gary's Mod. What a classic.
Yep.
So many videos of that everywhere on YouTube in that time.
Those Gmod horror maps and like the funny Gmod like the murder game modes and stuff. I could never get over those. They're so good.
What a classic time. I was more of a prop punk guy because I just like hide and seek, and it was another chance for me not to sit and wait to die. Just some random spook. But I do go back and I play some of the horror maps these days because it's like, oh, look what somebody spent time and that's another example of somebody expressing their like individual creativity because it is not easy to make those levels. I made an attempt. I was like, nope, I'm good. 5 minutes later, I'm done. Somebody help, please.
that's the thing is like that's one of the things that I always appreciate how much work goes into that, even if it's full of jump scares and everything. It's more than I could do, you
Right.
know?
Yeah. It is a complicated process. I still struggle to understand. I'm like, how do you guys have the time to make this happen? Like, how do you have the dedication to really make it happen? But these people are dedicated to the craft.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Said they know what they want to do, and I just love that vision where they want to make their idea come to life, even if it's something outside of their skill set
mhm.
or above where they believe they can make something. They'll make it happen, and I have nothing but respect for that.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's that's one of the things that I enjoyed. I guess I miss about the old YouTube back in those days, because for me it was working with what I had. I had a crappy HP. Well, it wasn't a crappy. People look at it now as like, oh my gosh, it's one of those really thick, amazingly hardcore laptops that had all the connections to them,
Mhm.
SD card readers, multiple USB, and a freaking CD reader. Absolutely a monster. Terrible processing power, but a monster nonetheless.
Got the
And
job done.
yeah, working with like the free trial of Bandicam until it suddenly ran out one day.
Oh. Oh no, you just
I
unlocked a memory in
Yeah,
me.
there you go. Because of that, I mastered making videos in under 10 minutes, because you couldn't let it get to 10 under 10 minutes.
I always wondered if that's where YouTube got their original cutoff. Because do you remember back in like 2015, that was the sweet spot for making videos. Is that
Mhm.
you didn't want to go too far over 15 minutes, 10 being right about the sweet spot for making videos back then.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, well, in the gaming genre, I never saw videos go over 10 minutes too often. If they did, it was like, hey, I've got to get a lot done in this video, so it's gonna be a little bit longer. But
Mm-hmm.
that was a massive sweet spot. I think one of the most famous people for doing that during that time was the Game Grumps. They were coming up during that time, and that
Yep.
was just a formula for them for years and years, until a certain point where we're like, okay, break the genre, break that mold, and we're gonna do more long videos. But for a long time, it was just like 10 minutes, video's over, bye.
I
Ah,
think if I remember right, it was around the time of the first adpocalypse on YouTube is when that really started to kick off, if I'm remembering correctly.
mhm.
Because then they had to try and get as many like advertiser friendly videos as possible, but they changed the algorithm at the same time where YouTube was favoring longer form videos back when like the Evil Within 1 came out.
Oh, jeez. Oh.
Yeah,
Ah.
I that's for some reason that's always stuck in my head is I just remember when the Evil Within videos started coming out. That's when I suddenly started seeing these hour-long videos or like 45-minute long videos. And it's just it's one of those changes that that's happened over the years that I just remember that sudden change from 10 minutes to 60 minutes was just whoa.
Man,
What's happening?
can confirm, even within responsible for ruining the YouTube algorithm. Man, on release. Uh, now during the years of this YouTube journey for you, I know that there's a lot of interaction that goes on in the communities, especially the Let's Play community here on this side of YouTube. Are there
Mhm.
any like not favorable, but memorable, I should say, interactions with other YouTubers that you can just call back to, collabs or
Uh
just offline conversations, whatever whatever, what have you?
there's been a few that I've had. The problem is that some of the folks that I think about when I say when I had these conversations and everything, people are gonna have no idea who they are, or they're people who quit so long ago
Right.
that no one's gonna remember them.
Hmm.
And it's one of those things that, sadly enough, some of them are people that were kind of they did things that people were rightfully like, get out of here.
Yeah.
So I guess some of the ones that I can think of is just having late night conversations with the original group that I started doing YouTube with because I had a little group of friends that no one's gonna know their names, but one of them was Humble Zeus. That I would talk to him and a friend of mine, Philo Pixie, back in the day. That we just had so many dreams. And one that actually still does YouTube. He originally did it under We Can Game If We Want To, but he now pivoted and he's running the YouTube channel Paul's Garage, and he does a lot of like workshop and crafting and 3D printing and stuff like that. Really amazing stuff. But I remember being in a conversation with them up late one night, all of us just dreaming about what we were going to do, how far we were going to go, and like trying to set up collabs with each one of us. And there was one time that we finally got it all to work, and everybody's capture broke.
Oh no.
Everybody except for, I think Paul was able to save his, and I think our friend Ixon was able to save it as well, but I don't remember if Ixon uploaded it. But we played a game that was called Hit, which is similar to Deceive Inc. back in 2015 and 2016. I never saw anybody else play it. I don't think I even uploaded it.
Oh no.
Because my capture corrupted.
Right.
Yeah, no, the only one is We Can Game If We Want To. It's a 10-minute video of We Can Game If We Want To playing Hit with me and our friend Ixon. And I still remember that to this day because it was the first collab that I just was so excited to be in. And it was like that energy, that hopeful energy of when you're a new creator, like a new YouTuber, new streamer, whatever, and you get so excited to collab and you're like, yeah, this is going to be an amazing video. It's going to be a hit. And then everything corrupted. And I just remember being so disappointed, but looking back on it, I'm like, that is the pivotal, like, that's what it's like to be a streamer or a YouTuber. It's like you get so excited and then the something breaks, but you have to make it work.
That is 100% how my experience was too. That was I had such awful, terrible internet, like 5 megabytes up and down, not good at all for anything. And so gaming was like, oh, let's try to do this or let's try to do that. It's just nothing worked. Nothing worked.
Yeah. I can completely relate. We were living in an apartment that wasn't a bad place, but the internet wasn't the greatest. We'd have the same thing. Like we had 5 up and 5 down, working on a laptop that I got for college. And trying to make it work. And yeah, it was hard.
Struggle was freaking real. Just the recount of like people who don't do this anymore. It makes me a little teary-eyed and a little bit sad because I remember these people fondly and like interacting with them, just like, oh yeah, messaging them back and forth, being like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this, or what are you gonna do, and watching their videos, and I feel ashamed of myself just a little bit, I'll have to admit, because I don't watch a lot of small YouTubers these days. I kind of stick to my big 3 or big 2, I guess, at this point. And that's it. And those are the only people I consume content from, gaming wise. If it's information I'm looking for, there's a multitude of channels. But for the sake of my own like category that I upload stuff under, I'm ashamed that I don't interact with a lot of small people, because I guess from the break that I took for a while ago, I just kind of dropped off and I just didn't talk to anyone. So I was like, so getting back into it is kind of like, it's rough. But I still keep contact with you because I'm like, you stream, and I'm like, oh yay. And it brings back a lot of nostalgia, and I'm like, but everybody else that I've interacted with that has come and gone, I'm like, where'd they go?
Yeah, and it's so hard to, once they kind of leave that space. It's one of those things that when you get folks that, you know, you'll be talking to them all the time. They'll be some of your closest friends. Like you guys will be like, oh, we're ride or die. We're there together forever. And then it's just they're not there anymore. And you will try to stay connected to them, but when you're not in that same space anymore, you kind of lose that commonality between you, and it can put such a strain on trying to maintain those friendships and everything that there's just some folks that you just can't maintain that connection with, and that's something that I've talked about a few times on stream, but like something that I'm right there with you, that I think about it. It gets me a little sad sometimes, and I just kind of want to, just sit there and kind of be bummed out about it for a bit and just be like, man, like I remember watching all these people, like back in the day. I would watch like double-digit channels all the time, trying to leave comments on everybody's channels. Everybody felt supported, going to everybody's stream, trying to make sure I'm talking to everybody's stream. So they're like, "Oh, my friend's there."
Yep.
And now it's like, I'll put on a stream. I'll sit in that same stream for hours and not go to anybody else, and just sometimes not even talk.
Right. Yeah. It's something about it makes like it kind of makes you like, put yourself in a shell, or like isolate yourself from everybody else. And maybe it's just I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but just the years of that it's not a deep heartbreak, but it's kind of like a light heartbreak where it's like, man, these people I once knew who were in a thriving part of my life are just gone. Because there was a Facebook page called Let's Play Society. I don't know if you were ever a part of that or not.
I wasn't a part of it on Facebook, but I believe there was a version of that was in other circles as well. But I can't remember where else I was in on it.
They might have been because they had a YouTube channel. I'm still subscribed to them, and they stopped uploading a long time ago because I believe something actually tragic did happen to the head of what was going on there. And and stuff like that. I'm like, I used to promote these people, watch these people, and just be there. And even though YouTube does do a good job, I will give YouTube credit. They've been actually on a streak of recommending small YouTubers who have less than 100 views on their channels or on their specific videos and whatnot. I'm like, oh, this is a chance.
And even their streams, I have been very pleasantly surprised on the amount of times that I'll load up my YouTube homepage and I'll see somebody streaming that has like single or double digit viewers that I would not have seen even a year or two ago. And I really appreciate seeing some of these newer faces and like folks that are up and coming and what they're doing and everything being presented on the homepage like that. And I'm right there with you. It makes me happy to see that, and to see that discoverability for them has become a bit. It seems like it's a bit more of a priority.
It's such a nice thing to see, and I guess it's what just our it might be our perspective for being here for so long. Excuse me. That it's a breath of fresh air. Because I will say, at least for we're neither of us are in that like main spotlight on YouTube, because we're not extremely super amazingly famous, but we were heavily involved in just the community aspect of just being around and talking with each other and whatnot. It puts me in an emotional state. I'm looking back at all my old subscriptions who don't do anything anymore. I miss them greatly. And they're a part of the reason why I'm still, and they did affect the content I did after they're gone. I'm just like, man, it's getting a little bit quieter around here. I'm not, interactions are kind of dropping and whatnot, because they were what we would call a community, or our communities back then. It's just to see them go, it's rough, but it happens. You just have to expect it in this kind of creative circle.
And it's even weirder because even with having that small group of friends, something that I've noticed that has also changed, and maybe this is just me because I'm not in one anymore, but the teams that used to be on Twitch, to where you would see people that be on stream teams, and that'd be a big thing, where people be like, oh, I'm gonna co-stream with my stream teammates, or we're gonna have these events with our stream teams and stuff like that. And you would hear about these groups of people that would actively work together, not just on a friend basis, but on like a professional basis within Twitch's streams, like their stream organizations themselves. And you don't hear about it like you used to.
Oh, oh
And
my
that
gosh.
just breaks my heart because I remember loving, like, one of the ways I used to find people was I would find someone I liked, see they're on a stream, I would go watch other people from their, or they see them on a team and go and watch other people from their team to see if anyone else matches that energy. And that was how I used to find people.
That's oh my stream teams. You oh those two.
Yeah.
That's yeah. Those are freaking. Oh man, the memories are flooding back. I swear this is why I wanted to do this because I knew this would happen. I didn't think I was gonna be this emotional about it, but jeez, it is just it's such a trip. Like this is why I wanted this because we've been around for so long. We've experienced this massive change, and to kind of it hopefully will come full circle and we'll be able to connect a little bit more with some people on our own levels. Um, but it's just it's nuts, and that the stream team concept, that's kind of what happened. How I consume content for like people like SourceFed because they had a bunch of creators doing multiple different things, and I was like, oh, at least a few of you are cool in my book. So I was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I can watch it. We can make something happen here. It was nice. Man, that's
And it was just such a nice way to organize if you wanted to have an event, or like if there were folks in the teams that didn't even do so much with streaming, that they just knew the background stuff
mhm.
of like how to set stuff up, that like they took care of their folks.
Yes.
And like there was such a sense of community within community that, yeah, it's so heartbreaking that it's not as big as it used to be.
Ugh.
But I will say Twitch has been kind of trying to push a little bit more lately. I don't know how effective this is going to be because from what I've seen, it's still fairly new.
Mhm.
But their guilds, the Unity guilds that they're doing, because they have like the Twitch Latin guild for Latino creators. And I've seen that they're trying to get some sense of community out of that, and I hope that goes somewhere. And I hope that we kind of see that as being something of a resurgence in that same kind of team's energy that we used to have.
Yes, that would be absolutely amazing. I would love that. Because if nothing else, the one thing that makes this special for at least with all creators is it's just the collaboration efforts. Because they produce such great things and such great memories to look back on. As there's no better way to grow communities and no better way to get more people involved than just to have stream teams again. Like have stream teams, get a bunch of people doing what they love to do, and it's going to be good because they love it. They're going to take care of it.
Mhm.
They're going to do it the right way. They're going to go about things the right way. They're not going to hopefully not do anything stupid to mess it up. But they're in it for the sake of the content itself, and it's great.
Yeah. And you would get folks from that being able to do stuff for charity and stuff too, which was amazing. There were so many teams that was their thing as well. And like I remember being in collabs where I would be playing with people I would have never talked to otherwise, just because we didn't operate in the same circles.
Mhm.
And it was so refreshing to meet new folks in the streaming sphere and to get to play with them. And I still remember I was in a Fall Guys collab playing with some folks that like I knew some of them, but I didn't know hardly anybody because a lot of them were newer than than us. Like the
Right.
two of us, how long we've been in this and everything. Like a lot of them were like, oh, I've been streaming for maybe a year or months or something like that. And I was like, oh, I'm the old one. But then we started playing, and I just remember they kind of were a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit awkward, kind of had to get the sea legs of doing a collab with folks and everything.
Mhm.
And by the end, we're all like yelling, let's go green team, let's go, and like just yelling for each other, having a good time.
Yes.
And that's the kind of energy that I would love to see come back to streaming again.
That would be I miss the days, and I hope they do. For new creators especially, I do hope you guys get to experience what we experienced in our early days, in your early days. So reeling it back in, because I gotta get time to just to gather my emotions. The history of your channel, Alavasgaming, where the name, where does it come from? The idea of you and your wife gaming together, where did that come from?
So that was actually a funny thing, is that originally the idea was that we didn't even know if we were going to use Alavasgaming. It was such a come up with an idea at the last minute, middle of the night. And we only did gaming because we were like, well, yeah, we're going to play games. We want people to know what we're doing. And now looking back on it, I would drop the gaming in a heartbeat if I could, because I don't just do gaming anymore. I do chatting and stuff like that. But the Alavas part is the laziest thing ever. And it's the funniest thing. A lot of people, everyone knows my name is Cody. A lot of people don't know my last name. Just flip it around. That's all it is.
Yeah, you know what? That's hiding in plain sight, man. Hiding in plain sight.
It was one of the funniest things. People are like, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's like, that's okay. Nobody knows how to pronounce it forwards either. It's fine.
You know what? It works. If it works, it works. It has stuck over the years, and it's hard to forget, honestly.
It's surprising to me how many folks remember it, because there are folks that I'll go and watch their streams after I haven't been there for a few years, and they'll remember who I am. They'll be like, "Oh, hey," and I'm like, "How do you remember me? I haven't been here in 3 years."
Like, how do you? Yeah, like it's the names work. The names honestly work. It's hard to forget those, especially because it really does. Because there's another guy named Preoccupied. I found him maybe like 2 years ago again, after I took a break from YouTube. He left YouTube and went to do Twitch, and he's coming back to YouTube now. But the names, I don't forget the old names. There's just, for some reason, the old names always stick with me, with those who were here. If I subscribed to somebody like 2 days ago, I'd be like, "Who? What? Where are they?"
Yep.
But for some reason, you got like the guys who've been around for a while, and I'm like, oh man, like one of my first channels that actually subscribed to me, that was not somebody that I knew, was Fee Fi Fo Fail, and like that channel doesn't exist.
It's a good name.
Yeah, it is a good name. Nobody knows who the heck that is, because that was just a lady and her roommate Flynn, who they're Canadian. And they played games. They did some things, and they were some of the first people that stopped by my first terrible live streams when Google Hangouts was in its early phases. And I would do nothing but mess with face filters.
Oh wow!
It's it was terrible. The Google Hangouts back in the day was just I don't know why people would do that. But it was like, oh man, because if they came back, I would recognize the name immediately. The names are so. It was I guess it was just an early time on the internet where I'm like, names they still mean something now, but because we've been around so long, we can catch cliches in like in a minute. It's like, oh yeah, you base the name off of this. I got it. I got the naming scheme there.
Yeah.
So the patterns are a little bit easier to recognize these days. But yeah, those were the days.
Well, and it used to be back then, folks were so dedicated to their name, you wouldn't get folks changing their names super often.
Right.
And now you'll have where folks will be like, I need to reinvent my whole channel and change my name. And it is also kind of an unfortunate part of more of the kind of corporate sphere being involved. Where you'll have some folks that'll have names that are tied to a corporation, and then they leave that corporation. They got to change their name or change their channel, so they don't have that same branding anymore, and so it doesn't have that same staying power because they don't have their connection to it.
Right. Yep. And and then people have to rediscover them all over again. They have a small portion that does follow them over, but then they have to just kind of create their whole new identity for themselves. And that takes such a long time and a lot of effort too. It just is ridiculous. And I wish some of those people I probably did follow at some point. And again, since they changed their name, I'm like, I don't know who you are. I don't know where you are anymore. I can't find you. I would like to, but I can't because you changed your name.
Yeah. It's one of the things I hate that it happens is when someone does that, where they have to change their name, or they just change their name on a whim. They're like, "Hey, remember me?" I'm like, "How would I?
Who are you?
Who are you, stranger? We could have been the closest friends 5 years ago, and then stop talking, and then they change their name and come back. If I have not talked to them since that point, and they walk in and they just go, 'Hey, remember me?' I'm like, no." Who are you? Get out of my house.
What are you doing in my basement? Who are you? Now, I do have like a random. This is a very specific but also very random question. Did you ever go through the YouTube Academy they had back in the day on the creator side?
I did not. I thought about it. I did not, because back then, you can still find a lot of tutorials on YouTube, but back then it was kind of word of mouth. You could find some tutorials, but a lot of the stuff that if you wanted to learn how to grow, how to do certain things with your content, how to do things, it was word of mouth, and it was going on to forums or going on to Reddit threads and finding stuff that you want to do and digging up people's old tutorials that they had done. So I never actually did YouTube Academy, because to me it kind of felt a little redundant, because I was like, I didn't see a point to it.
Right. You're very lucky, because I did waste my time on YouTube Academy, and it taught me absolutely nothing. I wasn't already at least practicing.
Yeah,
because you're right. It was a lot of it was word of mouth. People are still learning, like, how right, how do I do this? And it's just pure experimentation, honestly. In those days, and you could experiment with almost anything, and people would love it. They'd be like, "Oh gosh, like, oh, it's great. You did a small little edit and put a funny noise in there. Oh, that's amazing. You're such a good creator." Wow.
The old MLG air horn, and people would go nuts.
He made the screen spin. Wow, so talented.
Whoa. He made it shake a little when he hit that headshot. Oh my goodness.
And that's what I do miss about those days. It was so easy to freaking entertain people, because it's like, oh man, I don't have to do 1,001 gimmicks to keep people's attention. I can just do some simple edit, and people are like, oh my gosh, this is the next thing. It's great. Look at this master editor over here.
And that is honestly, it's one of those things that I look back on and I'm just like, we used to celebrate such small stuff.
We did.
Like, we used to be so excited about the littlest things when it came to making videos or doing streams and stuff. If you could get your camera to move on a stream, it'd be like, whoa, how do you do that? Whoa. And now it's like, hey, knock that off.
That's so true.
You put your face back on there, or some kind of model or something. You stay there, or you do something absolutely bombastic, like the folks that will have like a concert venue looking setup for their stream,
right? Making
it look like they're on stage at the Super Bowl, and like I don't know how they do all that.
I don't either. I mean, shoot, I as much as I like to, as much as I freaking like to claim that, oh yeah, we got to do 1,001 gimmicks, I still don't do much. In fact, I think I do less than what I did back then. I don't edit anymore. That's old me. But it's crazy the amount of effort people do put in, because I believe, like, if people had like VTubers back then, oh my gosh, the YouTube would have just been like, huh?
Oh, face rig. That was it back in the day.
You're right, I remember.
You'd see folks being like, there'd be people being like dogs and aliens, and like you saw some of the anime characters, but it was mostly face rig of people like pretending to be things that, like, it was so much more limited back then compared to what they can do now.
Very limited,
but
very janky.
Lose their minds about it.
They would absolutely lose their minds. I'm like, oh my goodness. And because of those days, I did have a good chance to experiment with editing and whatnot, experiment with different games. Honestly, the amount of different games I could play back then, well, though limited, were still a massive variety, because those are the days of Newgrounds, I believe, was still very popular then. During that time,
it was less the art portal back then.
Yep. And these were just fantastic times. They're very memorable times because they're fantastic times, and I didn't have to try as hard back then to actually make something meaningful. These days, it's just kind of like, oh, I'm here, I'm producing content still. It's just more chillaxed.
Yeah, and I will admit I miss that energy to where, you get some folks that would come in and they would have the idea of like, oh, I've gotta come in, be the next big thing, to be the next amazing person, got to be the next like Markiplier and stuff like that. And but they would be like a firework. They'd shoot off and then just burn out immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And now I mean, you still get burnout now. I hate
Yep.
to say it. You still get burnout now.
Yep.
But it's the folks that are trying to catch those gimmicks that I see and like I hate to just boil them down to gimmicks, but with how fast stuff moves in content creation these days,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately a lot of it does kind of come down to gimmicks.
Absolutely. Now, with that said, do you feel more more committed and more in control of your content now than you did back then? Quality and
Yes
consistency.
and no. I feel like I had a lot more freedom to just kind of do whatever back then because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what was going on, and I didn't know how to keep an eye on trends back then and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I've gotten a lot better about. I don't do it, but I know what to look for now. Like that is the hallmark of my channel. Do I know what I need to do? Yeah. Am I gonna do it? No.
That is absolutely. You know what that's a life motto right there when it comes to content. It's just we know what to do. We're not gonna do it though. It's far
Well, and
far too much work.
that's the thing is like I'm talking like how I brought up burnout and everything. That's how you see these folks burn out so fast. Is that they try to follow the thing that will get eyes on them, and it may not exactly be their thing, but they try to make it their thing. And some can do it, and some can't. But because it moves so fast, they never really get their footing in it.
Oh my
And since they're
gosh.
always just kind of being thrown back and forth, folks burn out because they never get that foundation going.
Hmm. I think that is something that I probably in one of Anthony's interviews he did talk about. It might have been with Ian, and it might have been with someone else. I can't remember. But it is the danger of being a content creator. Because for Smosh, especially, I know they did a lot of stuff. They got their hands in a lot of stuff before trends really were like happening on YouTube as frequently as they
Mhm.
are now. But they were the first to do a lot of stuff with the movie, with the products, with all the things that they did. Um, and honestly, what you're following with trends. Oh, it was an interview with the Vsauce. I remember now.
Yeah.
With Michael, and all he was saying basically is that if you're following a trend, you're studying the past. You're studying what has already happened, and
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily focusing on what could happen next. Instead of being that person that starts the next trend, you're already following what has been happening. And that is such a
Yeah.
dangerous thing to do, and that is kind of why people do get burnt out, because you're just constantly having to change, because you're basing your setup on what's already occurred. Like, this has already happened, you know what's going to fade, but because you're so focused on it, like you're stuck now in the past and constantly producing stuff that's only relevant to past trends,
Yep.
essentially.
Saying like the stuff that comes and goes so quick. It used to be that you could find something and it would be this trend for like a month or so. Like when Five Nights at Freddy's first came out, people were obsessed with Five Nights at Freddy's for months. And then it slowly kind of like it kind of dipped down, and then the second one came out and it was like, oh, it's amazing, and like it had a resurgence. But
Mhm.
now stuff comes and goes within the week. Like there are folks that got tired of Lethal Company within a week. There are people that like just looking at what folks are playing right now, I don't think that we really have something that is capturing everybody. Like right now, I'd say like the flavor of the week is kind of Helldivers 2,
Mhm.
but even that's not capturing it nearly to the extent of what we would have seen back then with like Bendy and the Ink Machine, Five Nights at Freddy's, all those kind of games to where everyone got obsessed and held on to it for a month if not more. And now, like you said, it's there for a week. Some folks don't have time to get their stuff ready to be able to be a part of that trend. And to record your stuff and then have to edit it for TikTok, which is an even shorter window, to where it'll be like, you got to get that up the day that becomes the trend.
Oh man, did you ever fall into that, like having to try to get everything into a TikTok or a YouTube Shorts video, and had to stress over that and produce like regular normal content?
For like a week. For like a week, I told myself, like, I could take the clips from stream and turn them into TikToks, and I could edit it and make it all fun and interesting and everything like that. And my last TikTok was, I want to say, almost 2 months ago, and it was Lethal Company. Or no, I might have uploaded one after that, but it was the one that I actually put some editing effort into, because a number of them I would do, like, I'd do some cuts, I would do stuff to just get it as consumable as possible. But that one I actually tried to put some effort into it and include, like, the have you seen the meme image of, like, the soldier looking just 1,000-yard stare towards the camera?
Yep.
Put that in, but with the Lethal Company face mask over him and everything, because I saw a monster coming at me. Like, I actually put effort into it, and I was like, oh, this is really nice. Not doing that again unless I really enjoy the clip. It wasn't hard. It's just you got to do so much now.
Yeah, and that's another thing they brought up too, because it is a lot to try and be everywhere, especially because it's not something that a lot of creators are passionate about. They're not passionate about TikTok or TikTok clips. They're just kind of like putting it out there because they're like, oh, exposure. Oh, I gotta put out a post on Twitter and a post on Facebook and a post on like Tumblr for those people who somehow still use that website. And then, for no hate on Tumblr users, by the way, I don't want to get fired.
Hey, that's fine. I'm still there. I still get to see that stuff.
And just, they have to put posts out everywhere and clips here, clips there. I'm like, if you're not getting clips, you're not getting exposure. And it didn't used to be like that. You just put out videos and that was it. It was simplistic, so simplistic that maybe a post on Facebook or here and there, but obviously you could just post on YouTube, and guess what? People would flock to the videos anyway, regardless.
Well, and I think one of the things is that some of the viewer passion in some of these channels has kind of died out a little bit, and now we're seeing a resurgence of it in other like content varieties, like how you would used to see folks taking clips of their favorite stuff and making fan edits, or making like making FMVs.
Oh my
like
gosh.
I still remember, like, back in the day, I would scroll through YouTube and I'd be watching videos, and it would be like the Outlast Let's Play FMV, everybody's reaction to when they get grabbed by Chris Walker, I think his name is, with an overlay of some dubstep music or something like that.
Yeah.
And you just have them screaming as your ears are getting blown out, and they're like that. But that kind of stuff was so prevalent back then, and now we'll like see people that'll cut up stuff and put it on TikTok, but it doesn't. It comes and goes so quick that like you don't have people really holding on to that sense of fandom and that sense of community. And like it's kind of it's so funny because the place that I do see it in is, strangely enough, it's VTubers. Yeah. I do see that with some of the VTubers that I'm friends with, that they'll have folks that they get such a strong sense of community from them. And it's funny because some of these, like almost all of them, are folks that I knew before they became VTubers, and that was a whole nother pivot to where I had to be like, oh, okay, I can't call you by this name anymore, I have to call you by your VTuber, to where it's kind of just shifted to where now it's, you will still see some folks that can hang on to that sense of like staying power and community, where you'll get that community that'll upload the edits of and like meme edits of their favorite streamers, if they're like VTubers or if they've had a long established audience. But you just don't see that as much for the standard everyday, like standard everyday streamer. You don't really see folks get that just kind of into it anymore.
Right. Yeah, that's true. You don't. I mean, the only people I really, well, at least for whatever the algorithm pushes at me, is like Markiplier still gets a few. I still see people putting some stuff together for him, but of course they do. He's been around forever. He's got a massive sphere of influence. But yeah, for people who are on like an average level, it's not happening. Nobody's like out there putting out the extra effort to do that, and like unless you're super out there. The VTubers, yeah, you're right, because I've seen Twitter go to bat for those folks a lot, and I'm like, wow, I didn't realize there was so much passion over there. I'm like, okay, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Good to see there's still content out there being rallied behind and I guess gushed over into to a degree. It's like it's nice. It's nice to see it. Oh, man, this has been great. I've loved this.
Yeah, this has been a great conversation.
It's been almost an hour, and I don't want to take up much more of your time because I didn't think it would go this long. I was like, oh man, this will probably be about 30 minutes. Okay, cool. I've got some questions to go off of, and I've completely went off my notes at this point. I've long run out of questions, but this is great. One last question, because this is something that I personally have a weird interaction with, but has gaming changed for you since you started creating content? Like has it been ruined, has it been dulled, has it been enhanced by you making content? Because I know some people get drawn off. I did for years. I couldn't play games by myself offline. How has your content affected you just gaming personally?
Oh, that is such a loaded question because yes, it has. This is how much it has changed for me. I started playing Horizon Zero Dawn earlier today, actually, for the first time. I've never played it, and I was like, you know what, I'll go ahead and try it. I didn't even get through the opening cutscene before I was taking snapshots to share with people and like having conversations about the game as I'm playing it, because I cannot sit there and play games without talking about them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I will sit there and talk to, like, if anyone's around me, I'm like, oh, look. Like I'll talk to anybody if they're sitting in the room with me while I'm playing. And it's one of those things that I did for a time there. I would be like, I can't play this. This is for content. And now it's kind of changed to, I can play this, but it's going to be a conversation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh God. Yeah, that literally was what it turned into for me, because I was like, oh man, because I could not play any games offline. Like everything was just, I'm like, oh no, wait, no, this the story game's good for content. That'll get me through some months and some weeks. What about this multiplayer shooter? Oh no, I can't, because that's good compilation footage over there. And I'm like, oh
yeah,
like fuck. There's nothing I can do
exactly
without luckily though, I did have like some friend groups I could just play games with and not stream and not record, so it kind of kept my mind off of it a little bit. But for the most part, I'm like, dang, I realized, because it made me quit gaming for a little bit, for like a year or so. And then I was just like, because I couldn't not associate games with content. I couldn't not stream or couldn't not record. And I was like, I'm like, what do I do? Like, it sucks.
I had the same thing, and the big thing that helped with me is that I'm very fortunate that my best friend since high school, he does not have anything to do with YouTube or Twitch or anything. He'll watch the occasional TikTok, but he doesn't have anything to do with any of that. So every now and again, like every week, we have a designated time that we'll play games together, and it'll just be complete disconnect from everything else, to where it's not content. I've asked him, like, would you be okay if I ever record it? Because sometimes hilarious stuff happens, and I'm like, oh, I wish I would have recorded that. That would do numbers on TikTok, or that would be great if I uploaded that to YouTube Shorts.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yeah, you can if you want. But then I get playing with him, and I'm like, no, this is what gaming is. This is me and my best friend doing the stupidest stuff, just just the two of us. It doesn't need to be anybody else. And it doesn't need to be like me trying to get a reaction or anything.
Mhm.
And it's one of those things that you kind of have to have that source of grounding to where you can play games with someone that is outside of the sphere. I do say you should try and connect with folks and make friends in the streaming community as much as you can, because you'll learn some great things from folks. But you need to make friends outside of it too,
Yep.
or you're gonna lose your mind.
That is 1,000% true. And I mean, luckily I have the opportunity now just to chill. I've forced myself a lot of these times just to chill. I'm like, nope, no streaming. Just play the freaking game and enjoy yourself. That's all that's happening.
Take in that story.
just sit in it, enjoy it. It's just because I treat it like people do with reading and books. You just have to be in the moment and not try to project it out there, because that's what life used to be for me with gaming, because with couch gaming and all those days, before content was even a thing, for a lot of people. It's just, and to get to that headspace, because for us now, it's just like streaming. Okay, it's second nature. But to not do that, to avoid doing any of that, is where the real effort. That's what takes real effort these days, for us. And it's a weird conundrum, but it could be worse.
Yeah. It's one of those things that it just kind of takes time to get used to it and to kind of just revert, I guess, to content creator mindset of like, oh yeah, I'm a gamer first and foremost.
Yes. Real gamers only. I'd like to thank you, Cody, for joining me here on the show. This was a really, really fun time, and I have enjoyed this conversation. It went almost exactly as I planned. We did go off a little bit longer than I expected, but that's also good. It's great.
I'm sorry, I go on tangents too often.
Please, that's what I love about this show. We can do that here. It's content. It's one of the things I've had to change, is that I'm like, I just do whatever I want to do. I can't, because for a while I did get sucked into trends, and I'm like, no, just make the content. If it's gonna be boring to some people, it's gonna be boring to some people. But as long as I'm enjoying myself, it's a great time. So I had to took the gamble. I invited you here. It was a great time. I have no regrets whatsoever. This has been exactly what I needed it to be, for having guests back on the show. And I appreciate you being the first guest in quite a while, and of this year, I suppose. And
I'm honored. I didn't know it was the first one of the year, the first one in a while. I'm honored to be here.
It's been a long while.
To herald that in.
Now the standard has been set, and everybody else now is going to have to be all sweaty and stressed, because you have just set such a crazy precedent now.
Listen, if you ever need somebody to just come on here and just fill the space with hot air, just give me a call. I will just talk. I'll just sit here and talk to myself. That's why we're still here, because we just do what we want, and we just kind of just keep talking.
That's exactly why we have stood the test of time, and we are still here yapping away as usual. Before I let you go, I did this with the last guest, Miss Continue. Is there any words of wisdom or encouragement you'd like to give the folks?
The best advice that I've ever been given or given to other people is that if you have an idea to do something, even if you feel like it's completely out of your wheelhouse, even if you feel like you could not pull it off, do it anyway. Even if it's an idea that someone else has already done, do it anyway, because it's going to be your flavor of how it's done. And even if you don't do it to the level that you wanted to do it, just do it again. Do it once you get better. Just don't hamper yourself. If you get an idea, do it and go for it, and just improve. And if anything, do it again. It changes every single time. So don't be afraid to just do something if you want to do it.
That was great. That is an actually really, really great piece of advice. You can find Cody on the YouTube, but you can find him on Twitch primarily. That's where he streams. Alavasgaming, twitch.tv/Alavasgaming. You can find him on YouTube if you want to watch his old Let's Plays of the horror games. They're still there.
I would love to be back on YouTube if I'm being honest. I'd love to do that again, but that's another thing that takes so much time.
I mean, the only reason I'm surviving here is because I decided to stop editing and just was like, you know what, I'm just gonna record, maybe stream, do a little bit of uploading, whatever I please. I may get back into editing at some point, but we'll see how that goes. You can find him on YouTube at Alavas, just the Alavas. The gaming's gone.
Yeah, when they did the channel or the channel ID updates and everything, it went to Alavas, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess I don't have gaming anymore. Wow. I don't know if I hit enter too soon or what, but yeah, it was just I kept putting in Alavasgaming. I'm like, where's my stuff?
Okay, well that's good to know that got cleared up. Because I thought he was just like, oh, okay, he just decided to cut the gaming. Okay, that's cool. It must be a brand change or something.
It is something that I wanted to do, but I didn't think anything of it when they were doing the channel updates. I just kind of I guess I just cut it off without thinking about it. I don't remember doing it, but I guess I did.
Fair enough. But that is going to be it for us here. Make sure you guys stick around for next Wednesday for the podcast. It'll be around. Make sure you check out the streams and such on the Linktree. Mouse, if you don't stop disconnecting, I'm gonna throw you against the wall. But until next time, stay safe, stay hydrated, and we will see you guys next time. Peace.